Good afternoon. Call the June 16th, 2022 Fire Service Advisory Commission meeting to order. We do have a quorum, so we can continue. The first item on the agenda is the approval of May 19th minutes. If y'all have had a chance to look over them. And if it's agreeable to everybody, entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve. I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Anything we need to add, change?
Excuse me.
Since none, all those in favor of approving the minutes for May 19th, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed? There is none. Motion carries. Radio Committee report. Mr. Zahn.
Sir. We had a meeting last month. We're moving along. We're waiting for a contractor to look over the Fire Station 10's tower installation. We're waiting for more word from the FCC about the repeater in Salem. And letters have been sent out, emails have been sent out to all the fire and rescue chiefs for some additional information on their equipment. Having a very poor return to that, so I have to send it out again. Scott, I miss anything?
I think that's pretty, yep.
That's about it?
While we're on the business of radios, I'm gonna pose a question, about the repeaters in Long Creek and Cleveland.
Yes.
Could you explain to me the cost of departments would incur
Sure.
during that repeater thing?
So, when we were talking about the different departments and which ones needed repeaters and all that, and that we did the testing around, what was discussed was that the infrastructure, the county would figure out how to pay for, and that actually the repeater itself, the actual box and all that, that the departments would pay for. If we got it in place and it worked as intended. If it didn't, we would take that repeater down. Then the county would have the infrastructure cost in place, but the departments wouldn't if it didn't work for them. So that way, then we would just take that repeater down and go somewhere else with that repeater to try to make it so that departments wouldn't be out money that didn't help them as it goes through that. So presently, we're working on a contractor and quotes for the Cleveland. State 10 Cleveland's tower. At the same time, looking at options for Long Creek too. We do have to get the cost of that and make sure that we make that agreement with the department formally to get that infrastructure put in place, and we're kind of working for that right now. But we're in the process of trying to get people in this environment to actually get that done.
The repeater itself, will that be put on the tower itself, or? will
It
that
actually
be
sits in the building.
Stays
And
at the
the tower, the tower and everything is just an antenna. The inside the buildings, wherever the internet is where that repeater,
tie in at the?
well, that's where we would do the tie-in.
Okay.
Correct.
And the cost is $5,000?
Not even for that piece of equipment, because it's just a listening site. The 5,000 was the repeater piece of it. We're only doing listener sites at the ones that are left.
Yeah.
That we've had to discuss. The repeater is actually the one that sits on the tower at Salem. And that one, that's the repeater. And then the other ones are truly listening sites because of their location, to try to help with that. And I can get you a better price. Everything is changing right now. But originally they were between $25,000 and $3,000.
$25,000 and $3,000.
Yeah.
One of them's questioning the payment for it, one of them's not, so.
Okay.
people out of my commission, so.
Okay.
I just.
Well, as soon as, I'll make sure we get a hard price on what that product is costing us now. And I can have a discussion with both those chiefs for you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Charlie, when Fair Play put in their repeater, it was a repeater, and it was about 10,000. Receivers are usually half or a little less than that. Long Creek and Cleveland, all they needed was receivers.
So,
I don't think
I
anybody.
think that's where the 5,000 came from. But we'll get some harder prices on that.
okay.
Anything else? Director Crime.
One second, I'm sorry. Okay, helicopter insurance, there were some questions that have came up. We do have, the state fire has a vendor now that is working with some insurance. That insurance is 4 times as much. So presently, the county will not, just like I reported last month, be going with that insurance because the helicopter insurance that we were providing didn't cover our members like it used to. We will be looking at that for the future, but the cost of that is so much higher that number one, it would have to be, we would have to price quote it and put an RFP for the amount of money that is, not just the direct purchase that we were able to do before. So it takes more. So we're encouraging departments, if they want to continue that coverage for their members, that they reach out to the South Carolina Fire Association and look at that themselves individually for their department personnel. That it's just not feasible to replace, just do a 1-for-1 swap because of the cost. I mean, again, it's 4 times as much. And it does cover more, but that is not something that we can do without an RFP and those kind of things, going through the process to make sure that we follow the county ordinance to purchase properly for that. So we are encouraging members to look at it if they want to, if there's a discussion with it, and then at some later date, if we could, continue it through the incentive program, looking at that true cost and those, what that looks like at that point. But presently, the departments will need to use their money if they want to continue that process. But with that new information that we wanted to share, make sure the departments have heard, there is an option for them, but not the same. Just wanted to bring up the funding for the departments and the need to make sure that the departments are using that county money appropriately and that they're documenting it appropriately. We need to make sure that, receipts are saved, that people, are following good documentation practices and good money tracking and voting on things, not just free, open, spend money for a chief and those things, making sure that we're documenting how that money is being spent appropriately, as that is county funds, and we need to make sure that we ensure that the departments are using that money appropriately. They're not, there was a guidance policy sent out. I can send it electronically out again. Established a year or so ago, and actually that whole policy started prior to me. So we just need to please remind the members to make sure we document it, as that is county money, and we need to make sure that we're responsible to the public for that money and using it appropriately.
So this is the 60,000.
That's the 60,000 that is given to the departments. We need,
Now that equipment money, that's in that same 60,000.
that's all together. Yep, it's all together now when you get your check. Not just, it used to be 2 different.
Yeah.
Yep.
got consolidated.
Correct.
Do you recall what year it was they started, expediting that money out to the departments? I think it started out at 45 and 15 was equipment money that y'all handled, and it eventually got rolled into one big ball of the 60,000.
I don't know exactly, it was over 9 years ago when
Over 9
it started
years.
to go out. But I would have to, I don't know, I don't have the date right in front, what
Okay.
year that we started that.
I think it was around 15 where they merged the two.
When they merged the two.
15 or so,
The
yeah.
money went out originally, and there was two pots of money. And then it was, in that, so we started giving the direct money, like I said, over 9 years ago, then they were merged.
Another question I got on that, so at the end of the year, if you still got some left, does that roll over to the next year?
It's given to you.
So you get,
Yeah, that 60,000 that is given to the departments via a check every year. So it doesn't roll over. All that money is expended every year in that budget to the departments.
well, that's what I'm saying is, does the department have to spend every bit of
No.
it in 1 year, or can they?
Presently, no. It can plan out for the future to try to do things. What I'm saying is, what we do spend, we need to make sure we document it appropriately.
Record on?
Is there a review process that do y'all audit, or
So they-
what's the?
They are responsible for turning in financial reports quarterly.
That's still in place?
That is still in place. And we're just wanting to make sure that we're continuing to track that properly.
Anything else? Chief Norris?
Good evening. So I just want to remind everybody of the firefighter, Fire Rescue Appreciation Day this coming Saturday. It will start at 10 a.m. and run until 2 p.m. We'll start serving food around 11:30. We've got games, door prizes, so please spread that to your members and have them come out for a fun-filled day. Like I said, we have the games, so we have medical games, we have rescue games, we have firefighting games, so please bring your PPE and prepare to get wet. We will be there at 8 a.m. starting, if anybody would like to come help set up. But the actual event will start at 10 a.m., but by all means, if anybody would like to come help set up, we'll be there at 8 a.m. That's this Saturday. The documentation program, this is pertaining to our reporting system. Currently, we're using ERS. Over the next coming years, I'm sure we'll start to see that phase out. ERS was purchased by ESO. ESO is not planning on making any changes soon. They are actively researching and developing or redoing ER, so to speak. They don't have a timeline. The last I talked to them, they said this could be 4 to 5 years before they make any major changes. But with that being said, we would like to get a committee together consisting of, from the fire, rescue, all sides, kind of a committee to lead this, to kind of start looking at different platforms or what our options are, of what features we're looking for in the system. All the systems are generally the same, maybe different face or layout, of course, different pricing, but they all have different tabs and modules that you can purchase. For an example, you might could purchase a payroll tab. Well, we may not need that particular payroll tab. So just in the coming months, we'll be working on getting that together, what that'll look like, and then, of course, start selecting members to be on that committee. I don't think there's any reason why we need to select the program within the next year per se, but definitely go ahead and start looking and defining what we would like to see in the next program, and kind of have our eye. In the event, we do want to switch away from ESO/ER. That's all I have.
Regional One.
My region was very questioning this month. What are y'all's plans with money that was used to buy Hilo insurance this, in the previous year, that we're not gonna be buying this year, what are the plans that y'all have with that money this year?
So that money, because it wasn't spent this year, will go back into the 2.9, so it goes back into the rollover money. That rollover money has always been saved to the side. Example, Station 9 rolled the tanker, and then the rollover money was in there. The extra, that built-up pot of money was in there to buy that truck, because the insurance didn't cover the whole cost, to cover the difference. So it's kind of a catastrophic reserve in that fund if something was to come up like that. So because it's 2.9 revenue fund, it doesn't go away. So it just goes into that reserve. We're not spending it on anything this year since we chose not to not to purchase the insurance.
Station 9 reported some traffic concerns over highway patrol and wreckers. They had a fatality on 76, and the issue was brought to my attention that the highway patrolman on scene, a wrecker showed up, and the wrecker was denied the towing of that vehicle, and they got another wrecker service that was not on scene, and the concern was it caused another hour of delay waiting on that other wrecker service to get there, and they were questioning what may have been the
What may
conditions
have
behind
happened.
that.
So I'll try to clarify that more with them and check. But the policy with Highway Patrol is a driver can choose their wrecker, who their wrecker, for your vehicle. If not, it has to be the on-call person, which keeps wrecker services from jumping accidents and doing that. The knowledge that I have from this case, the biggest thing is unfortunately, there was not a driver to pick. Their person had to go to had to go into rotation, and that's who they are mandated to ask. So the wrecker that showed up, who was not the on-call, couldn't be used by Highway Patrol because they weren't the next on rotation. Unfortunately, in that case, you're right, it kind of does take a lot more time to get somebody because the officer has to be on scene to do the next on rotation kind of thing. But I did call to, in working on making sure that, we make sure we do it right. But it appears that's what happened, in that event.
Well, we kinda had the same problem on Burner Mill Road one night, 2:00 in the morning. He called Cartees all the way out there. He was getting ready to hook to the car, and the highwayman said, "Oh, we messed up. This was the Waller district." So he wouldn't let him tow it. He got kinda mad because he come all the way out there at 2:00 in the morning.
We as responders cannot call, wrecker service.
I'm talking about the highway patrol.
Oh, the highway patrolman?
He made the mistake.
Oh, he made the mistake. We can't control if people make mistakes, but yeah. But there is an on-call list and they have to, by their regulation, follow that on-call list.
He ended up sending Cartees back home.
Oh, wow.
Calling the town.
Yeah.
But it had the road blocked for another hour.
For another hour.
Somebody come
Yep.
get the car
But
out.
that is unfortunate, that is how their system works.
I understand how it is trying to keep from showing favoritism to one record company over another, but it seems to me like you could bend them rules just a little bit in the regards of, in the interest of public safety and getting a road open and all that.
I'll continue to talk it, but that is their policy and that is
They stick to it,
They stick to it.
no matter how bad.
Unfortunately, when you start bending things, how much do you bend, and that's when we start having problems.
That's when the lawyers get involved and
Right.
then things really get fun. Oh, that one. Oh, the last one I got, Mr. Ashton made me aware of an incident where, Station 21, the boys at Camp Road are not responding with engine 19.
Okay.
And, was questioning you know, you got a call on Cobb Ridge Road, and you got another call going in another area of the county, right there pretty close, and you just take off and go to the call instead of going and getting the engine.
We can definitely look at it. We can definitely look at it and make sure, the response plan is appropriate. The one thing, a lot of times they're not at camp. Now, if they're at camp, they are supposed to make sure that they respond in the appropriate vehicle. We also don't take an engine to a medical call. So I don't know the call, so I mean, but we can make sure we remind them to make sure they take the appropriate equipment.
They were both structure fires.
Oh, they were structure fire, okay.
Yeah.
So yes, that, but we'll make sure that
And it
we,
may have been a case that might have been where, right there at camp.
right, okay. So we'll look at, we can look at that and figure out what, how we can make sure our response plan is correct. We can definitely look at that.
Charlie, could you send me the information on those two particular calls? So we could.
Oh, I'll have to dig through.
That's all right, if you can send it
Get
to
the
me,
date.
I'd just like to look and see where they were,
Yeah, I'll get the date
Yes.
for you.
up in Salem, why are they taking the engine when they're.
Yeah, I understand not taking it to Salem,
Right.
but Cobb Ridge Road,
No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
over in Westminster or Walhalla area, or even
Right.
Holly Springs.
Well, that's what it's for, so we need to make sure we respond to the right apparatus to the right area.
Yeah. And I think, let me read Gump's. Got one a little late. That pretty much covers, I think, all the questions have been answered for this, my region, so.
Region 2.
The only thing I got, we had a little trouble with the incident reporting yesterday. I don't know, I know they're trying to not let a whole lot of people on that thing, just certain ones. But, and our guy says he can't put the fire report in anymore. I don't know why. That little Troy called you today, he was supposed to get ahold of you.
So, actually, we've discussed it, and mainly there must be some misunderstanding. Give you an example, no, our firefighter cannot put a call in when the information is not complete. Our guy cannot make up information for a call. And so if a call report is not appropriate and doesn't have the information on it, he can't put that in the system. In other words, he can't go into the system and make up information to go into a call report. So if somebody if there isn't a call report done, that we have sticky notes handed to us,
All right,
we need to make sure that report, and we ran into this when Chief Greer was here, and he was working on it, and we're gonna have to pick that back up some more to get possibly paper reports that you can fill out to make sure you have all the information correctly. But we cannot ask our member to fill out a report that they weren't there. And if the information that is supposed to be in a report, not on the report that's being given to him to fill out, we can't expect our member, our employee, to fill out a piece of paper that they weren't there, number one. And number two, PCRs, if there was patient care done during that incident, it has to be, a PCR has to be done. Medical treatment has to be done by the person that actually did the medical treatment.
well, that was my next question, but can anybody get into that system and do that?
If you are a responder, we will give you information to fill out the reports.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I don't know, Brady set up a class or Gibbs or somebody to come out there and show our guys how
Yeah,
to.
absolutely, we'd be happy to.
Yeah. We'll be glad to.
And
A
then,
lot of people that were interested in doing it, they just don't know how to do it.
Sure,
Yeah, absolutely, we'd be happy to. One of the incidents, our guys don't mind, entering the call information as long as they have the information about the call. Because the last thing they wanna do is enter information, and this thing go to court, and they're obviously gonna be on the stand saying, why'd you put this? And if they say, well, I didn't have the information, I was just assuming, that's gonna get everybody in trouble. There was a particular call, and this happens a lot, there was a structure fire with a fatality, and the narrative that was put in was, responded to structure fire fully involved. That was it. That was the narrative. And this was a fatality, that was pulled from state fire, and then, of course, they're questioning, this is your narrative? So, we just have to make sure our documentation is better.
Well, that's what we wanna get to.
Right.
But I know somebody was trying to hack into the system or something, and they just take a bunch of people out of it.
So we have, changed some of the permissions, but it didn't, I mean, everyone still has the access to do it. It just how they, the amount of access they have to make a report and fill it out is all still there. It's the ability to delete reports, to delete information that we shouldn't be deleting information, to change information after it's been reviewed and closed. That we changed some of those things where, if a report's already been reviewed and closed, we shouldn't be going in and changing information. A month later, reports are supposed to be done and in a timely manner, closed out and reviewed, so that it's, number one, fresh. It's the information that's there, not just, we're gonna open it up and change the information within that report at a later date. And many people could do that before. People that were had just no reason for them to do that. And so we've said, hey, even if it was not meant to be malicious, things were getting changed in some cases that really, we need to make sure, security purposes for the data. That is a report. It is an official document that, when it's reviewed and closed, isn't supposed to be changed unless you document that you you added a narrative, and it's totally separate. On this date, we added the narrative to this, because of this purpose. We didn't know this person was on scene, whatever that may be. Though, those kind of things, we need to start figuring out how we're gonna document changes appropriately without altering
The document itself.
the documentation appropriately. And when it comes to, we need people to fill out a report appropriately. We are literally being handed chicken scratch that is hard to read, is not in its entirety, and we can't do reports that way.
Well, that's, again, I'll get our training officer to get in touch with you and schedule
Yeah, absolutely.
somebody to come out and
Absolutely.
at least show 10 or 12 of us how to do it.
Yeah, bring the whole department. I love it.
Yeah,
It
we
won't
do it
take
at training night.
2 hours, and we can get you pretty squared away.
Appreciate it. That's the only thing I ask.
Region 3 and Region 4 are not present. Just a couple of questions. I guess as far as our inflation and fuel, rising fuel cost, and responding to some of this call, I know the county has set aside in their budget proviso a fuel supplement. Do we know the mechanics of that and how that's going to translate to emergency services and maybe in contracted entities?
We do not.
Okay.
I can look into that and what that entails.
Okay. I think the question was, there was a lot of non-emergent calls that are being run, and didn't know, since, that's eating up, a lot of fuel, so we can find out about that. The other thing, it might be just a training issue, it might be something we need to talk to 911 about, or dispatch. There was a chief call in trying to get additional information on a call, and I think they had a hard time getting that information from the dispatcher, so I don't know if that was that they didn't recognize the 01 nomenclature, but whatever, if we could look into that.
Do you have any information you can share on the call? So
It was a search and rescue up at Stump House Tunnel, Esquina Falls. And another question, I think we have beat the ERS horse for a while. Just a question about trying to just the data entry and the management of that. I think this organization uses the countywide ERS, and they're subjected to the same, I guess, the same permissions and same rules as everybody else. So,
Correct.
Okay.
If they've chosen to use the counties, their permissions across the board are a chief's permissions.
Okay.
Across the board.
So there's no differentiation between a chief's a chief in the system.
Except for our battalion chief that do the
Okay.
reviews and those kind of things.
Okay.
It does not differentiate between contract or volunteer.
Okay.
That both of those are treated the same.
Okay. I think there was some questions about, I don't know if this is dispatch protocol or just response protocol. I guess we're looking for some maybe clear direction, definition on the response of 21 staff to certain, I guess, high acuity calls. I don't like to use the word self-dispatch, but maybe they're self-dispatching to certain calls and then having to be toned out to the others. So,
So, I mean,
Might be some
our
clarification on
solution to that, or not solution, our method we're trying to better, dispatch that is the GPS system, which is still not operational within the CAD. We do have them GPS. We are starting to try to send the closest unit, not just a unit. We have to update and do some of the box alarm systems, change that within that to where it's added for certain acuity calls that the closest unit will be sent. Yes, we've told our units that if they're going to be close, we don't want them not to go to a call that they could help somebody. So that is still a judgment call the way it is built. We're trying to build it outside of a judgment call better, but that it has not been finalized yet, and it's still in the works.
and I guess the last question plays into that. There was a call, a cardiac arrest call. I think one unit was running code 3 and a county unit was just driving down the road, was it? I don't know if they didn't know about the call or what, but,
Okay.
maybe if we,
If we can get some information on
Okay,
that, we can look at what the,
there was just some question about, did they not know that, the call was occurring or what?
Right.
So,
Right.
there was just some clarification on that. Okay.
and we still have not, like, some of our spares, depending on the truck they're in, is if it's actually if it actually even has GPS for them to do that. So I don't know if that's, I don't know the situation, so,
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Maybe one of our new guys that doesn't have any training right now.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We have a bunch of people in training too, so we'll have to look at that.
Is there any timeline for the GPS on all the rigs or?
Not really.
Not really,
No,
okay.
not really. We're still working on how that's interfacing with,
Okay.
tying into dispatch and how that's gonna look for them.
That's kind of what the hospital does. I think they got their ambulances GPS.
Yeah, and they're still having trouble too.
Oh, yeah.
We're on two different methods, and that's some of the issue. But, they pay a third party to do theirs.
Like you say,
So
I've still
different.
heard them calling out an ambulance and then turn around and cancel it and send another ambulance.
Right. Because they see someone's closer. Yep. Or they're not available, or, still working through that.
I don't have a report per se, but I've got a comment and want to discuss it, and it might be something for the reporting committee to take up. Since structure fires are added, that seems like that's the bulk of the issue with the reporting, and that's what ISO looks like, or looks at. would it be beneficial for the battalion, the duty battalion for that shift be solely responsible for that fire report? That way, there's one report, all the apparatus personnel should be captured. I don't know how that translates in with our current system, how each person gets a point, or however that's determined for incentive purposes, but maybe something to think about. That might get some congruency on the structure fire reports at least, that if they're done by the duty officer, I know they're reviewing them, and I know each department does their own. I don't know, just throwing out options to see what sticks or something to think about, to maybe try to alleviate some of this cross-reporting.
Yeah, that's definitely doable. I think one of the issues right now that we're gonna run into by doing it that way is the NIFRS reporting, with our system currently how it is, what NIFRS and what ISO is gonna wanna see, more so on the NIFRS side, with how we're set up. They're going to see, let's say if the call was in Walhalla. Walhalla would be the structure fire report, and then station 6,
Would be
and
mutual aid.
11 would be your mutual aid or assist, will be their assist reports. The issue with that, which is the right way to do it according to NIFRS, the issue with that is not necessarily gonna resolve our issues of dual reporting or multiple people in different rosters. The way that you described would be more similar with a consolidated or a one FDID, not to throw out bad words, system with that, by going with one report. But definitely something, as we move forward, to definitely talk about.
Okay. That's all I have, unless anybody else has anything for the good of the order. I have a motion that we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second.
Second.